The living room was dressed up like a studio that Sunday afternoon. Evelyn, my daughter, had dragged the big lampstands in from the garage, clipped a white sheet across the wall, and arranged the couch at a perfect angle toward the bay window. "It's all about lighting, Mom," she had said earlier, her voice tight with irritation, as though explaining to me was a waste of her breath. She wanted professional-looking pictures for Christmas cards and, more importantly, for her social media. Everything she did now seemed to orbit around appearances, what the neighbors thought, what her friends online commented, how glossy her life looked from the outside. I had put on my best blouse, a pale lavender one that Charles always said brought out my eyes. My hair, silver and thin, had taken me extra time to brush just right, though my hands shook more than I cared to admit. I thought maybe, just maybe, this day might be a small chance to feel included. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. The grandchildren were already dressed in matching outfits, red sweaters, pressed khakis, polished shoes. Evelyn flitted about them like a choreographer, tilting their chins, smoothing their collars, fussing until every detail fit her idea of perfection. Daniel, her husband, leaned back against the mantel, sipping his beer, smirking at the spectacle, but offering no help. "All right, everyone in?" Evelyn clapped, her nails gleaming in the warm light. The children rushed into position, grinning with forced smiles, trained like little actors. Daniel set his beer down and slid into the middle, tugging one of the boys close. Evelyn posed at the center, her head high, the queen of her picture-perfect kingdom. And me? I stood at the edge, smoothing my blouse nervously, waiting for my cue. Evelyn's eyes darted toward me just as the camera timer blinked red. She froze, her smile faltering, and hissed through clenched teeth. "Not you. Hide behind the curtain. You'll ruin the pictures." The words sliced through me sharper than any blade. My throat tightened, my hands trembling at my sides. "Evelyn," I whispered, but she was already waving me away like I was a stain on her perfect backdrop. "You heard me," she said louder this time, her voice carrying enough to make the children glance uncomfortably at me. "Behind the curtain. I don't need you in the shot. These are supposed to look good." Daniel chuckled under his breath. "She's right, Margaret. Let the young ones shine." The children fidgeted, their smiles wilting, but none of them spoke. And me? I stood there frozen, humiliation crashing over me in waves. The lavender blouse I had chosen so carefully suddenly felt foolish, almost clownish, like a costume on someone who didn't belong. I turned slowly, my knees aching, and pulled the heavy curtain aside. The fabric smelled of dust and sunlight, and I stepped behind it like a ghost being folded out of existence. From the narrow slit, I watched them laugh and pose, their faces lit by the flash, their voices rising with cheer that had no place for me. Every burst of the camera shutter felt like another nail hammering me out of their world. I pressed my palm against the wall, steadying myself, swallowing the ache that clawed up my throat. I thought of every picture I had ever taken of Evelyn when she was young, her first day of school, her dance recitals, birthdays, all those frames where she was the star, and I was behind the lens, smiling with pride. I had framed her life with my hands, and now she had banished me from the very thing I gave her. When it was finally done, Evelyn peeked at the shots on the camera, beaming. "Perfect," she said. "These are going to look amazing." Then she glanced toward the curtain where I stood hidden, her lips curling into a smirk. "See, Mom? Much better without you." The laughter that followed wasn't just cruel. It was final. They had erased me, right there in my own daughter's living room. I stood in the dark, my heart heavy but my mind sharper than it had been in years. Evelyn thought she had erased me, but she had no idea whose name had paid for the frames that would soon hold those pictures. The next morning, I woke to the sound of Evelyn's heels clicking across the hardwood. She was already on the phone, her voice pitched sweetly high as she bragged to someone. "Yes, the pictures turned out perfect. I'll have them printed and framed by Friday. Oh, don't worry. I made sure Mom didn't ruin them. I had her hide behind the curtain. You know how she is. She just doesn't fit." She laughed, sharp and loud, like a glass breaking. I sat on the edge of the guest bed, my cardigan pulled tight around me, staring at the wallpaper I'd once helped choose for this house. Back then, Charles and I had picked every color, every corner with care. Now, my daughter strutted across it like it was her stage, rewriting the story of who it belonged to. When she hung up, she breezed past the guest room without so much as a glance, humming as though humiliating me had been just another task ticked off her list. At breakfast, the children scrolled through their phones. Daniel clattered around with his mug, and Evelyn spread the prints across the table proudly. "Look," she said, tapping the photos with a manicured finger. "Don't they look incredible? No clutter, no awkward extras, just us." I stared at the glossy images, their perfect smiles glowing beneath the camera flash. Nowhere was I. It was as though I'd never even been in the room. She looked up at me then, her lips curling into that same smirk. "See, Mom, you should thank me. I saved you the embarrassment. Nobody wants to see you hunched in a picture. It ruins the aesthetic." Daniel chuckled into his coffee. "She's right, Margaret. You looked better behind the curtain than in front of it." The children shifted uneasy but didn't defend me. Evelyn noticed, her eyes narrowing, and quickly added, "Besides, you should be happy to even be here. How many mothers your age still get invited? Most of them are already gone." She leaned back in her chair, satisfied, as if she had delivered a kindness instead of cruelty. I pressed my hands together in my lap, keeping my expression calm. On the outside, I gave her what she wanted, quiet compliance, a bowed head. But inside, something had shifted. She thought I was erased. She thought she had stripped me of value by keeping me hidden from the camera, but she had forgotten one thing. Every photo, every frame, every glossy reminder of her perfect family came from money she didn't have, from accounts she didn't know existed, from me. Long before Charles died, he had made sure I was secure. "Don't let her charm fool you," he had warned. "Evelyn knows how to take, but not how to give. Keep the reins in your hands." I had. The accounts were mine, the house technically still under my name, and even the family photo package Evelyn had so proudly ordered had been charged to my card. I had watched her swipe it without even noticing. I sat quietly as she chattered about posting the pictures online, about printing them on canvas, about hanging them on the wall for every guest to admire. Daniel nodded, approving, like a king surveying his portrait. But I smiled faintly into my tea, because I knew the truth. Their perfect pictures would not last. The very frames they planned to hang would betray them. I spent that afternoon in my room, the door closed, papers spread across the bed, deeds, receipts, accounts, all in my name. My hands shook as I signed one paper, then another, ensuring what would come next was airtight. Evelyn had ordered me behind the curtain because I ruined pictures. But soon, she would see whose name would hang under every photo in her house. And when she saw it, she wouldn't be smiling. The night of the unveiling came quicker than I expected. Evelyn had invited half the neighborhood into her living room, eager to show off what she called the most perfect family portraits ever taken. The house smelled of catered food, the mantel was polished to a shine, and the frames, lined in gold trim, leaned proudly against the wall, waiting to be hung. I stood in the corner, quiet as usual, watching her strut from guest to guest, her laughter too loud, her gestures too grand. "Just wait until you see them," she told anyone who'd listen. "Flawless, magazine-worthy. No clutter, no awkward extras, just the family." Her words stung sharper than the champagne in my glass, but I swallowed them down with patience. Daniel clapped his hands to hush the room. "All right, everyone, gather around. Evelyn's got a little surprise to show off." The crowd shifted closer, their smiles expectant, the children fidgeting with pride as though they were celebrities about to be revealed. Evelyn lifted the first frame and held it high. The photo gleamed under the lights, her in the center, Daniel on one side, the children flanking her perfectly, their smiles fixed and glossy. My absence was glaring, but no one noticed at first. They clapped, complimented, cooed about picture perfect. Evelyn basked in it, her smile stretching wider with every word. Then someone near the front tilted their head. "Evelyn, what's that at the bottom?" Her smile faltered. She looked down, her eyes narrowing. In small, engraved letters on the bottom of the frame, a name glinted in the light. Margaret Hayes. She blinked, confusion flickering across her face. "Oh, that must be a mistake," she said quickly, setting the frame aside and lifting another. But this one bore the same inscription. So did the next. And the next. Every single frame, beneath their carefully arranged smiles, carried my name. The room shifted with murmurs. Guests leaned in closer, whispering, "Isn't that her mother's name?" one asked. "So she paid for all of these?" another whispered. Evelyn's face burned crimson. She stammered, fumbling for excuses. It's just the printing company. They must have—" But her voice cracked under the weight of her own humiliation. Daniel's jaw tightened, his hand curling into a fist at his side. I stepped forward then, my voice steady, cutting through the noise. "Not a mistake." Every eye turned to me. Every one of those frames bears my name because every one of those pictures was paid for with my money. Every wall in this house you plan to hang them on? Still mine. Every canvas you ordered? Mine. The only reason you have these perfect little portraits at all is because of me. The room fell into silence, the weight of my words pressing on Evelyn like a stone. Her smile had vanished completely now, her hands trembling as she held the frame like it had betrayed her. I walked closer, my gaze never leaving hers. "You told me to hide behind the curtain because I ruined pictures, but now, no matter how many times you try to erase me, you'll never take a photo in this house without my name underneath it. My name will outlast every smile you fake for these walls." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some guests averted their eyes, others shook their heads. Evelyn's children stared at her with wide eyes, their admiration cracking. Evelyn's lips parted, but no words came. She looked at Daniel, desperate, but even he avoided her eyes. The humiliation was complete. I placed my half-empty glass on the mantel, straightened my cardigan, and walked toward the door. The room parted for me, silent, their gazes heavy but respectful now. At the doorway, I turned once more. "Hide me behind the curtain if you like, Evelyn. But remember this, curtains can close, names last." And with that, I stepped into the cool night air, leaving her standing in the middle of her perfect pictures, surrounded by frames that told the truth louder than any smile ever could. During family photos, my daughter ordered, "Hide behind the curtain, you ruin pictures." Later, everyone saw whose name paid for the frames. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.